Omicron just shredded the COVID narrative, just broke it, right? Beautifully, just smashed it to smithereens. And just yesterday, I think it was Rochelle Walensky of the CDC was saying, well, what we really need to do is pivot and be sure that everybody understands that everybody needs a booster, right? I don't know how to make sense of that because what she's doing is she's clinging to an agenda that's clearly broken and a narrative that was really failing all on its own anyway, even without Omicron, but it's really, really failing under Omicron. And so it speaks to this idea of what's next that you brought up, which is that my experience watching the Iraq war unfold was that these people, when they prove to be wrong, they never go, oops, our bad. We got the mission accomplished. We never got hey, we're so sorry. It turns out there never were weapons of mass destruction. Here's some consequences for the people who architected that bald-faced lie, right? That didn't happen. Instead, we just rolled from one thing to the next. So I agree with you. Once this agenda narrative is over, I think what we have to be alert for is the next one that they're going to pop out. They. And is there a single they in this story? I don't really know, but
I mean, we always trip over this sort of thing because there clearly is a they, but the they has components, right? There's clearly, you can see in the emails that there was a they orchestrating the lab leak cover up, right? Mm-hmm. And it involved many of the names who were prominent in the phony public face that was put forward. There's also a they that involves lots of surrogates in the media, many of whom probably have no idea what they're doing and are just, ambitious in the negative sense of that term, where they are vying to curry favor with power and to get ahead. And then there is a vast brigade of useful idiots. And I would say in Walensky's case, I have the sense that she does not know where she is and what she is doing. She is a true believer in something or someone, and it's breathtaking to watch her hold on as the narrative crumbles around her. It's not a good look, I gotta say. It does not look like a wise person trying to scramble for higher ground. It looks like a person who was dispensable to whatever the they is.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't put her up on the top shelf of theyness. she's clearly a useful front for it, but not even all that good at her job. So I actually cringe and I feel bad for her from time to time because I think it's clear she's way out of her depth and I don't know that she really understands the game that she's a pawn in. So she plays it badly and with not a lot of sophistication. The next shelf up, certainly we got Fauci. He's a very skilled player of whatever the game is. But even there, I'm not sure that we're looking at the true face of the they in this story. It feels the horsepower that was involved to get this whole narrative off the ground was breathtaking to me. I'm a very deep student of this. When I watched every single European country, with the exception of Sweden, which is an odd story here, I watched Israel, I watched Canada, I watched New Zealand, Canada, United States, all fall into lockstep around this one narrative. That's power, right? Even as India was like, nah, no thanks, we'll do it kind of different for most of it. Not Kerala, but most of India was like, yeah, we got this. Bangladesh, Africa, Indonesia, like everybody was kind of doing it a little different with stunning success in some of those locales. And we just kept going across a lot of different cultures. I don't think of Europe as one. So,
well, Let me, this is not something I've talked about with anybody. It's just sort of a thought that was running around in my head. There's some sort of narrative, clearly not organic, that was constructed that its purpose was to lead people to a particular set of behaviors and beliefs. Now that many people, I think, have very clearly mistakenly understood it to be noble lies, but I don't believe it could be. I don't believe it could possibly be as far off the mark as it is if it was a mistake. But what I see is a kind of proximity effect. It's like Fauci is a megaphone broadcasting this message. And the closer you are to Fauci, the more distorted your civilization has been around COVID. So it's like we are the epicenter of confusion. And Europe is very thoroughly confused, right? But as you get farther from Fauci, you begin to see experiments in reason, and you see them in the oddest places. You do see them in Africa. You see them in Indonesia. You see them in Japan, right? You do see them in Mexico. You see them in South America. And that is interesting because in some sense, what it means is whatever this game is, it's hurting us worst because the they is closest to us. It has the best access to our minds, and it has unhooked reason most effectively right here, right? And that is an amazing fact, right? Like, once again, we're going to end up with worse access. I mean, just the simple fact that medications that we know work have been made scarce. And in other parts of the world, it was hard to make them scarce and less important that they be made scarce. And so people actually have them, right? That is an amazing inversion of the usual. This is the opposite of privilege, is what it is. Yeah, it's
right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. So, I just tested positive for COVID a few days ago. I've had some symptoms. I've had this conversation with people who said, so if it gets bad, are you going to the hospital? I'm like, no, no. Like, you want to talk about an inversion of privilege? I'm actually, first time in my life, legit scared to go to the hospital because I checked. My local hospital is all about remdesivir and ventilators. They are stuck in something that the most third world nation you could find wouldn't dream of doing because they have access to a better route of they know the data all says that is the wrong thing to do, and it's still being done. And plus, if I get pulled into that system, my partner Evie can't come with me. There's nobody there to advocate for me. You get sucked into this place where you have no rights anymore, not even the right to determine what treatments you want. It's bizarre, and I'm not sure if it's always been that way or if COVID made it worse or something new arose. But it's legitimate. Brett, this is a weird place for me to be. I would not go to the hospital. It'd be my last resort.
I have, and this is one of these places, we've never had this conversation. I have exactly the same sense, is that at this moment, I mean, this is a weird thing to say, right? The hospital has a tremendous number of very important tools it can deploy on your behalf. But I actually think we are worse off in that context. I am probably in a better position if I come down, let's say it's COVID, right? And I get a bad case and I'm in jeopardy. I am probably better off with Pierre Corey on the phone telling me what I should do than a hospital full of tools and experts going by the narrative. And that's a frightening place to have landed. That is not a good sign. That is a sign things are desperately off. And I mean, it's also, I thought a lot because various people, I guess most recently, it's been, wow, I'm blanking on his name, which is probably a good idea. Howard Stern, right? Howard Stern was mouthing off about how the unvaccinated should not be granted access to hospitals. And, there was a part of me that months ago was thinking, all right, I'll take that deal, right? If I am making a decision to forego the vaccine, I am willing to endure the consequences. But then I realized something. You know what? I'm not in a generous mood about this point. And the reason is, but you robbed me of all of the tools that I would use. If you want to make a deal with me that says, look, you can do whatever you want, but you can't make use of our hospital if our hospital is advising you to take a vaccine that you won't. That's a deal I would make. But then I get access to all of the other stuff, right? I get access to the things that have been deployed around the world that we know work, the things that doctors have figured out how to deploy, that they are saving patients at an amazing rate. I get access to those things. Yeah, I won't go to the hospital for COVID for sure. Now, what you and I are talking about is actually probably I don't want to go to the hospital anyway because they might give me remdesivir, right? That's counterproductive.